I've been interested in prop making and set building about as far back as I can remember. As a kid, whenever we'd get new movies on DVD, I'd always want to check out the bonus features to see if there's any making of featurettes. There's just something inherently satisfying about taking an idea through the concept and the fabrication and just putting it out there. But there's one step of the process that, while I always knew it had to be done, I never realized how strange it would feel until I gained some more first-hand experience. And that step is saying goodbye. Let me back up a little bit. Well, in perspective of talking about my childhood, actually we're fast-forwarding, but in perspective of now, that's when I'm backing up. When I was in my mid-teens and I was getting into making like action figures and props and stuff like that, I wanted to do something with them, so I started making a mini-series. I've talked about this quite a bit. There's the videos that I've made so far on this channel. And I don't mean to imply that somehow making these goofy little kind of lazy man stop motion videos equates to anything unlike an actual large-scale production, but it is good practice, and it does give me a taste of what it must be like to actually make a full-sized set. Because the series has grown beyond what I had ever really originally intended, in a sense. Because the story has always remained the same. I wrote all these videos back when I was a teenager, and now it's just taken me years and years to put them into production. And it's probably a good thing that it's taken that long, because I've learned a lot, and now I'm more willing to put extra work into the sets and all that. And while I've been enjoying my little venture into animation, it's also very daunting. These videos take a long time to make, and I am dedicated to finishing them. But I always felt like there was still this giant hill I needed to climb, and that hill was resting on top of me. I guess I'm underground, and I have to climb my way out by taking pictures, drawing little faces, and then syncing those pictures up with music. Last year, I made it kind of my resolution that I wanted to go gung-ho and just work until I got these done, because I wanted them out of the way. But I ended up only working on it little by little, and it was really hard to gain momentum just working it in, so I kept getting distracted by other projects and kind of doing other things instead. So now this year, the cycle's kind of repeating. In December, I was thinking I really would like to get these videos done, but at the same time, I was just kind of assuming that it would take me another couple years. And even though I assumed that's what was gonna happen, I was also dreading letting that happen, because I didn't want to just end up in the same place next year where I'm like, okay, now I'll focus on Songs of Survival. So I was hoping for the best, but I was doubtful that anything was actually gonna change. And then I broke my hand. And yeah, it's probably gonna seem like my hand has been in the splint for a long time, because I'm currently filming as much as I can while I have time off. And those videos are gonna need to be edited and everything, so it's gonna seem like it's a long time, and I guess it is, because it's been 3 weeks already, and I still have a little bit to go. But in those 3 weeks, I've gotten a lot done. I can use my fingers. It's mostly just my wrist that I'm not supposed to bend. So I've been able to work, I've been able to run the camera. Making all the fine-tuned adjustments on the tripod can be a little tricky when it's a lot of twisting and things like that, but I've been able to make do, because I want to keep myself busy enough that I don't feel guilty for taking this many weeks off of work, but I also don't want to overwork myself and stress my injury. But yeah, having 3 straight weeks to do nothing but build sets means that now I'm done with that portion of the process anyway. I have the final 2 Songs of Survival videos filmed. It's a strange feeling when I spend an entire year making all the individual pieces that I need for a set. I spend an entire week putting all of the set pieces together onto the table and arranging it and weathering it and dusting it and all that to make it look atmospheric and lived in. And then all of that leads up to just one night of taking pictures, and then I wake up the next day and I'm like, I don't need this anymore. And so that's why I'm really making this video. I just want to ramble about that for a little bit, because if I feel the sense of like, oh, all of that work, and now what do I do with this tiny little set that I have? What would it feel like if you're actually working on a movie production? I mean, I guess if that's your job, then you just move on to the next one, and you just keep building and building and building, which is kind of what I did, because once I got done with the first video, or the third video, then I moved on to the next video, which meant I just repeated the process over and over again. So it was another week of doing nothing but building sets, leading to one night of taking pictures, and then I'm done, and I tear it all down. And then another week getting everything set up. Except that time, since that was like I was filming an entire video instead of just one scene, that was more like just the first half of the week was building the set, and then the second half of the week was taking the pictures. So it was a little more evenly divided. Plus, it was just going back to the house set that I've built, which has gotten a lot of use. That house really, like that's probably the best way of doing it with my just basic little videos, because it's one simple set that gets a lot of work done. But yeah, I've had that house for so long, it's starting to fall apart. So I'm actually okay with saying goodbye to that one, because I was getting ready to just tear it all down anyway. All the hooks that I had on the walls were falling apart, so whenever I had to film inside, it was like, okay, take this wall off. Oh, great, now they all fell down. I'm done, though. Yeah. I'm done. Part of me really wants to just set everything on fire. I made this big, like, stick pin board to rest on top of the table and painted it like desert. I don't really need that anymore. I'm still gonna keep it around for a little bit in case I encounter any snafus in the editing and I need to go back and film. But when I'm sure that I'm done, I really don't need it anymore, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to burn it. Just therapeutically. Have to say goodbye somehow. But that's probably gonna take a little while, because I still have to go through every single picture that I've taken in the past few weeks and draw all the faces on the people and edit out all the backgrounds. Although that is one thing that I decided I was done with. I hate green screening things, because I can't really green screen things. I have to manually paint out all of those backgrounds. And for some reason, that is one of the most tedious steps of the process for me, because I'm like, the background doesn't really matter. It's not like it's interacting with the story, but it's one of those things like, if the background is wrong, people will notice. So it is important. It's just not important enough for me to feel like there's value in painting every single picture with a different background. So at one point I just took out all the green screen and just hung like sheets up, and hopefully that'll look more convincing than the painted backdrop I had for the first video. Because I tried to like let them drape out farther. With the first video I just had walls that I painted with sky and it looked kind of cheesy, but it did the job for what I needed at the time, because it was my first video and it was just an experiment. All of this is an experiment, a learning process, and I've learned a lot. Primarily, I've learned that I don't want to do this. I still enjoy it, but it's like, it's a lot of work, and it's mostly just for my own, like, ability to say, I did that. I can't predict the future, but I do get the feeling that the next phase of my life is going to feel a little bit surreal. Because there are a lot of projects that I have kind of been working on for years, like almost my entire teen years, and they're gonna have to come to a close eventually. I'm so much of a completionist, I still want to finish them, whether they're making little stop motion short films or writing a novel. It's gonna be done, and when it's done, I'm gonna feel a little hollow. I guess I'll just have to move on to the next process though, because I'm always coming up with ideas. That's how I move on. Anyway, I think that's all I really had to say for now. I know this is a very random and somewhat inconsequential video, but I had been feeling a little, finality. The last behind the scenes video I'll want to do is kind of going over some of the painting process. It's fairly simple, but I'm sure I'll be frustrated with it enough. I might want to rant a little bit about how long of a process that is to paint on all the faces. But yeah, I'll save that for when I make that video. Oh yeah, and another thing with the basement, it's very random. Since I've been making these sets, so like for over a year, I've kept the cats out of the basement. That door has remained shut because cats are somewhat destructive. They like to chew and munch and lay on top of things, and sometimes that leads to breakage. But when I know for sure that I'm done, I'll let the cats back in. I'm sure they'll be happy, but it'll also be weird for them too, because they've been locked out of there for so long, they'll probably be in disbelief, like, what? We can go down there? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So yeah, thank you for watching. Have a nice day.